Hello, everybody.
Shannon Bush, so excited to be again this year.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. When did we meet Shannon?
Oh, I think it's probably through the Heart Centered group, I think initially.
Or some Facebook group, definitely.
Maybe
A heart-centered Facebook community.
Absolutely.
Now, we love you, Shannon, as you know, and we've kind of been going back
Likewise.
and forth. We've never met in person.
No.
Not yet.
That will change.
That's what Zoom is for.
Yes.
And so Shannon actually lives not in our city even, and yet we feel like we've got this amazing connection to you. So do you want to tell everyone exactly what you do and how you help people? Because look at you, you're a business liberator.
I know.
Yes, I am a business liberator. Yes, in case I forget what I am. I put it on the screen. It's too funny. And that is business liberator in lieu of having to say I'm a business coach. And I have no problem with that term, but I feel this year, now that I'm sort of a decade into my business, I've gone beyond that term of business coach because I'm very holistic and I do so much with my clients on such a broad scale. It's not that I'm against niching, but I've got so much to offer. So I've worked a way to bring the right things in for the right clients, So I'm very much about working with my business clients, which are small to medium businesses. But when I say medium, it's the smaller end of medium. Anyone from solopreneurs, sole traders, working out there by themselves in a, online business or in-person business, or have a small team, up to 5, sometimes up to 10. But it's about really meeting my clients where they're at and bringing what some of my clients last year dubbed the business Yoda factor. So I love that, bringing my wisdom in, which again, I've amassed a lot of it over time. And really working with people on what they want to accomplish. So, it's about, at the end of the day, quick snapshot, it's about making business easier because that makes life easier too.
Yes.
And is your podcast still up and running, Shannon?
It is. It's had a little bit of a quiet moment, but I've recently employed a new team member to really ramp that up and take care of some of that because I don't have time. It's not for lack of wanting to. So, yes, I'm the host of Law of Effortlessness podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Of which you can find us in the...
Oh, yes, definitely. Goodness me, that's nearly a year ago now. But, go and look out for the episode for the girls. We'll have to get you back on.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
Look at
this. We'll have to just start a podcast. Just be like,
well, if you haven't, I'm surprised if that's not on the agenda at some point in time for the two of you.
It is. We're like you.
You ladies love to talk. We all love to talk. So, it's a natural progression. And they're still saying, from a marketing perspective, that podcasting is still the bee's knees.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from that audio perspective, people do love, there's nothing better than being in someone's ear and them hearing from you and connecting with you. And
subliminal messaging you can provide.
A very quick story. I was at the shops the other day and there was cops, about 4 of them there, and I'm standing there I quickly turned to them and said, have you guys been served? And then I sort of ignored them and I could see a couple. And after a while I was hearing this voice. And eventually I kind of turned around more and realized, oh, that one there is the neighbor from down the road. And I was like, because I kept thinking, that voice is really familiar. It's really familiar. It's really familiar. So voice is familiar. So it is awesome to
definitely.
Good story. Interesting. Okay, so let's get down to business. We want to actually ask you a few questions, as you know.
Yeah.
So the first question that we have for you is, back in the day, why did you decide that self-employment, or I don't know, having a bit of a part-time job and a business on the side, however you started, what attracted you to that to begin with?
Oh, it's a good question. And I love that you're asking this because too many people forget to share their founder story. They forget to share what happened in the beginning. And I know you girls know, but the audience won't necessarily know. I grew up in and around family business. So, being a business owner was just a thing that you did when you grew up in my family. So we don't have many employees. We've got mostly business owners, which is interesting. And my grandmas were business owners. So as a little girl, knowing that, when you grow up as a woman, you could be a business owner, there wasn't a question about whether I could or not. It was just, I know, I'm very grateful for that. And I didn't realize the magic in that until years into my business, but it was always something I'd wanted to do. So once I got very overwhelmed by the corporate world, and more to the point, not that I didn't like it, it just wasn't me. I just didn't feel like I could fit in all of the boxes that they wanted me to be in. And it squashed my creativity, which was not good. And I'd amassed, I'm a natural learner. I had amassed a lot of qualifications, and I thought, you know what, they're being wasted in this environment. So when I finished I'd done some coaching training through my corporate job, and working with people just makes sense to me. I've also qualified counsellor, and I've got art therapy qualifications. So when I finished my art therapy quals, I sort of went, you know what, I need to test the water here. So it was about probably 18 months or so. I started doing a little bit of work in that area, building up to knowing that I had long service leave coming up. I had capital to start my business, because there was no way jumping out of that corporate income into nothing was going to work at home for anybody. So
is a great lesson.
Is a lesson. I really hope people have just taken something from, because a lot of people feel the pressure to just jump ship, and then it can, you end up stressing yourself out unnecessarily.
Oh yeah, it was it was very much as I'm a naturally very strategic person, and I again grateful for that. And it wasn't calculated, but I guess you could say that in some ways. But I knew that I wanted to test the waters, that I didn't know how to be a businesswoman. I wanted to learn more about that. So going and doing some more study was not a problem, because I love to learn, and just getting out there and sort of saying, well, what does networking in a business context look like, as opposed to being an employee in a corporate sense?
Yes.
What does running a small business look like? What is marketing? And I'm grateful I'd done some postgrad studies in back then around business management, and had been, I guess, exposed, for want of a better word, to the joy of marketing, and realised that it was my thing and I loved it. So going and learning about that was an easy thing to do. And again, listening back or tuning into the lessons and the wisdom that I got from, my family around making sure you knew who you were selling to and what your products were and what you were doing. And so it all sort of just came together. And then it came to that, okay, it's the month before the long service leave is due. It's time to put in your resignation. So I did. And but at the same time, even having that capital to start my business, and one of the first things that I invested in was getting help.
Yep.
So I worked with a business coach of my own very early on, and some more training, and then getting out there networking. But it still was, the issue at home in terms of, when people are used to you bringing in an income, there's an expectation you still keep contributing.
Yeah.
So I did get a part-time job. It was 2 days a week. And it was something that was very easy for me to do. In fact, I was bored stupid most of the time. and then got
inspired to do your business.
Yeah, definitely. But then and that's it. It motivated me. And I think that was almost more of a subconscious thing to go into the particular role that I got. Brought in the contribution I needed to be making to help at home. But it gave me, by the dynamic of the work, it gave me that motivation to really focus on growing my business. And I'd given myself a goal or a deadline as well. I guess the two of them coming together. Within 12 months, I would be able to step away from that job, because I was able to earn that income that I was getting from that job. And 11 months after I started it, I resigned, and I've been in my business full time since. So that was about 8 years ago.
Wow. I'm fangirling. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Goosebumping.
And I make very clear decisions, and defined this is what's happening, and then everything goes into that. Yeah, I share it with people, so there's accountability.
Yeah.
And I have people in my life that will call me on my stuff when I don't meet my deadlines, and that's really helpful.
We've all got those.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I'm sure that success has changed for you a certain amount over that time.
What
does success look like to you, like now more so than ever? Like that was a success you were looking for achieving at that time, and it was financially driven. Obviously, it was. Yeah,
definitely. It's a lot of
this amount to replacing it.
Completely, Kirsty. Yeah, it was a lot of financially driven stuff. But for me, even just wanting to be in a business and not be an employee came down to the fact that I felt like I wasn't able to really use my, broad skill set. I wasn't able to grow. I had an amazing boss. I worked in a really great company, but it just still wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
It was too, pigeonholed. Even things like having to put in an application and hope that maybe someone will sign off your leave. I was like, nah, I'm not having that. So, for now, if I look at my business, one of my goals was to travel more because I love traveling. I love getting out in the world and seeing different things. And it was around how can my business help me to do that? This year, I'm away 4 times with my business, 3 of those overseas. Wow. So, yeah, that's freedom for me, being able to do that. Girlfriends go, let's go away for a few days or something, or, looking at your family type trip or something and go, yeah, when do you want to go? Give me enough notice and I can do it. Being able to have choices is freedom for me. Some days I work really long hours, but it's because I choose to.
Yes.
I don't do it because I feel I have to, like I used to do in corporate. It's like, it's really long days because you had to do it or you had to get done, and you still got the same, salary at the end of the month.
Yes.
But now if I choose to work that, it's because it is a choice.
Yeah.
And almost like this brings up another point, just as a bit of a side note as well, in that, I think we get to the point where it is a choice, but sometimes people tell themselves that they need to hustle and they need to do.
I hate that word.
I use that word on purpose because I know.
I know, I hate it.
But we really, so it is a good point in that you are working the hours that you want to work because you choose to, not
that's
because
right.
yourself, you have to be successful.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
And I think also, like, when you're working a job, you're often you're capped almost. And some people, very much so, they don't even actually have somewhere they can go. Whereas when you're working your own business, you kind of have more control. Now, yes, you're more accountable. Like, if I don't do anything, I'm not going to earn any money. But you can even say, oh, look, I really want to do, take the family to Europe for a month later. I'm going to have to work my butt off for 3 months or whatever. But you can choose to even go full on for a bit and create extra income for that bit to be able to maybe then pay for something.
Yeah.
Have choice still. It still comes down to choice.
As opposed to being an employee where sometimes, like, I know people that have got jobs where nobody covers their workload and they go on holidays and they're stressed the whole time, and then they go back and they've got to deal with the workload, and it's more stressful to actually have the choice of going away.
Yeah. That's, I had that situation when I was an employee where, I was in a senior role, and if I wasn't there, my job went and stopped no matter what was going on. And in my final role in that organisation, I was a senior project manager. So my holidays were timed around the projects I was managing.
Yeah.
And if they were going live, based on a client schedule of a 14 to 16 week lead and launch time, and it didn't work, then no, sorry, you're not going anywhere.
No.
Even for a day.
Okay, so this is probably a good little segue into what we were going to ask you next, which is all about struggles early on. So
I'm pretty sure it wasn't smooth sailing.
It was probably
no, come on. So I had to say to someone just yesterday who was like, "Oh my God, this is such hard work." I said, "Yeah, happy." And I said, "I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are times in your business where things are going to feel like shit and you're going to want to run away." And I said, and there's no timeline or time frame as to when that happens and how often it happens. I said, but it's you taking care of yourself and supporting your mindset, having great people to vent to or to download with, and that is going to help you to move forward. Because there's no smooth sailing. You can think everything's, and I think being complacent and assuming it's all going to be awesome assuming it's all going to be awesome can be a helpful mindset thing, but being complacent and doing, there's a difference there. Is just being naive and being silly, because there will be challenges. You can have an amazing few months and all of a sudden some shit will hit the fan that you have no idea about. So being able to build your resilience is really important.
So cough it up.
What?
Tell us about a struggle.
I tell you about a struggle.
And think back, whether it's early on or
like
tell us
today.
about
what I think, and this is something I talk to my clients about, and I've been there, we've all been there, because it's a reality being business. The struggle is, I think, not just in your early days, but at different stages, because as you evolve and your business evolves and the model changes, it's getting clients. That's one of the biggest struggles for so many of us. Cash flow, but everyone talks about cash flow, and it's not. I don't want to dismiss that, but I'm sure other people will talk about the cash flow issues. So I think the reality is they're getting clear on who the hell you are, what you're offering, the benefits of that, which I love to teach in the way that I teach marketing, and who it's for, and then being out there and being able to be consistent and showing up and sharing that so that you can engage with and be more magnetic with bringing clients in, rather than being out there and being desperate for taking any dollar that anyone will give you to do anything.
Yeah.
Well, that can be a real struggle. Like if you are in the money mindset and you know you need it, you need some money.
Yeah.
People can feel it. People can see it. So
they can.
Self is a struggle.
Yeah, they can. So that's the stuff. And, there's definitely been times where, things have, again, seeming to be going really well with a client, and suddenly they'll almost do a 180 and they'll be like, they go from loving you to hating you. And it's like, what happened? It's not usually us, but, again, that's a great opportunity to go and reflect and go, well, what was my part in that? What was going on here? But yeah, that's happened.
Anna that it was. And it's the company. No, it's me.
No, it's me. When you're in a business where you have very personal relationships with your clients, you need to look at yourself. And that is a struggle as well for a lot of people, and certainly has been for me at different times, of really being open and honest with myself about who I am and what I've committed to, whether I could actually show up and commit and follow through on what I've said yes to, different things like that. Yeah. And it happens at different times.
Honestly, I love this example so much, because self-reflection, when you think about it in your personal life and your business life, literally is one of the hardest things that you can do. If you're a person
self-critique.
Yeah, or if you're a person that maybe struggles with criticism.
Oh God, who doesn't at some point in time? Yeah. Yeah, and the jealousy thing that comes up with the criticism, and it's not, I'm not good enough. Look at their amazing successful launch. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes of that launch.
Funny, I was talking to actually a mum at school yesterday at the pickup, and I didn't realise that she was a business coach, and she was also, but one of the conversations I had with her was, she was saying, I'm a coach, but I've only got a couple of clients because there are so many other coaches that are better than me.
Like,
the truck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that, go with that. Like, I guess there's, the reality of life with little children and wanting to just provide for your family. But I guess one of the things that comes up is actually that self-reflection of, am I doing what I really want to be doing here? Really, if I ask myself, am I just doing it because I'm good at it? And actually having a genuine conversation with yourself.
Oh, completely. And being able to be honest and real and raw about it, and be okay with whatever comes up. I mean, there has definitely been times in the last decade where I have wanted to walk away from my business. It doesn't last long, because I remember all the reasons I left. And this is a really important thing. Stay really clear and connected to why you started your business in your first place. Yeah. That is going to help you, because those reasons often don't change.
No.
Your why can develop over time, but the reasons you started in the first place and wanted to be in business and not an employee don't often change.
Yeah.
So stay connected to those, because those are the things that I need a brief moment to remember that, and I'm so good no matter what's going on, as it just dissolves, move forward, pull myself up, get on with it.
I tell you what, for me, I think just every time I need that reminder, I go somewhere like the middle of the CBD at lunchtime and look around. And for me, it is just a constant reminder of what I do not want to do.
Or get on a train or a bus at peak commuter hour.
Yeah, on a 40-degree day in Adelaide when there's no air conditioning on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
You love your paddle boarding and
yes.
time and stuff to yourself, and you have to book that in, I'm sure, to
I do, definitely. And it is about it's back to the choices. It's about having the balance, but people talk a lot about the work-life balancing. I like to use the word blend. I think it's more more relevant, because as we need to remember, and I think it's a lesson that we learn very quickly, if something's happening in our personal life, it's going to affect our business. It's going to affect when I do my business planning. I look at 4 core quadrants. It's the business, the wealth, expertise, and self-growth. So, and the self is all about literally the self. It's not about you and your business. It's about just you. So you as an individual, you as a as a parent, as a sibling, as a partner, just some random thing you might want to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're not taking care of yourself, that's going to conversely affect the other areas of your business. Just like if you're not taking care of those other areas of your business, that will affect you on a personal level. So you've got to blend the two together. Yeah, you've got to remember you've got choices and execute them.
That's right. Blending the stuff that you do like. So I'm sure even when you come back from a paddleboard, whether you've got work later that day or whether it's that night or the next day, you're better at being who you need to be as Shannon.
Oh, completely.
because
completely.
you've just been out and had an amazing time doing what you love.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the business liberator sort of term or name came out of my personal leadership profiling model, and one of my archetypes is the liberator engineer. So the liberator aspect of that is about an incredible ability to create freedom for yourself and others, but also the flip of that is the challenge, in that often the engineer can get so over engineering with different things that they create everything but freedom. Yeah. So liberator. So freedom is a key value for me.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that I'm doing things in my day and in my week, in my months, my years that actually help me to feel free. So travel's one. Yeah, getting out on my paddleboard, doing that with a friend who's not in business.
Yes.
So we have conversations that not you know. And when you're in that coaching space, and I love my friends that are in business, but you know, they want to pick my brain, and I just want to be friends. Like, you know, like I'm not your coach.
Brain picked up a paddleboard today.
Yeah. So we don't. So you know, and so Jackie and I we don't talk about business. She'll like, how's your business, Shannon? How's your week been? Good. And we talk about all sorts of stuff. You know, we've been friends a long time. So, you know, it's that in itself is freedom. Yeah. Having coffee and brunch after is freedom. Yeah. Different things like that. Yeah. Being, you know, those sorts of things.
Okay, so I'm really interested to know. So you've talked about the fact that I love the fact that your family is all business owners, by the way. I'm assuming that
random few employees, but they cope.
The minority are employed. Yeah. So were there any defining moments back then for you that really stood out, or is there something more recently in your business that, you know, you think about that really has put you on a trajectory to where you are now?
Yeah, I think if I go back to the early days, I said, while I had that beautiful role modeling, if you like, of that, you know, it's okay to be in business. I also had experiences and observations as when I was younger of people in my family in business who believed that they'd failed. My dad was one of those. And I think, you know, that triggered in me a little bit of when I grow up, I'm going to help people in business. Hello, business coaching didn't exist back then. And Dad used to say to me so often, he's like, I wish we'd had people like you when I was in business. He goes, I had no one to talk to. You sort of had the bank manager to chat to. He goes, but even they weren't really great at managing your accounts and your finances. So, you know, you did your best, you got creative, you thought, you know, you looked around you for examples of what marketing and advertising was, and you hoped that the thing that you saw someone else doing that you copied your way would work, because you didn't know any better. There wasn't a lot of training and things. But what my dad did immerse himself in very naturally was a lot of mindset work. So again, as a child, I had lots of conversations with him around the way you think and what that does and the influence that has. So that was definitely a trajectory that set me off on the path to working with people like I do now, to really invest in mindset as a really key part of that, because that underpins all of the practical stuff we can learn about business. The mindset stuff's got to be good. If it's not, I could teach you thousands of strategies, but if it's not good in your head, it's not likely to work as well as it could do. Yeah. So that, and then, and then, you know, dad certainly, his perception of feeling that he'd failed us and had to go back to being an employee, you know, because there were bills to pay, school fees, mortgages, you know, food to put on the table. And it was a really tough time economically at the particular period he was in business and bailed out of that. That definitely triggered something in me to go, you know what, it doesn't need to be this hard. And people don't need to feel like they failed like this. You know, anybody could be in a business, and with the right support and tools and guidance, they can be a success. So that definitely.
It's definitely the key, isn't it? I mean, what's massive.
Yeah.
You think about how many bricks and mortar businesses, how many people go into business and they actually don't look to have support or coaching from anyone. Like,
no, it's very common.
They think that they can, you know, buy and start up or whatever a business, and that if they kind of do a good job, they'll be successful. But there's so much to it that that you need to be able to make sure that the numbers are right, and somebody that can think of the things that you don't know yet. You don't know to think about them or to, you know, consider them, and the marketing side, and the, you know, how are you going to get your customers to walk through the door, and all that sort of stuff.
I think it's a lot harder in those days as well, in that when you do have a bricks and mortar business, the overheads every month are a lot potentially higher than someone who's in a lean startup online, where you know, I actually saw a Facebook post in some group talking about how much per month this woman's expenses were, and I think it was about $35 a month or something. That's what she had got her expenses down to.
Oh, wow.
And had some, she doesn't outsource. It was just for a simple sales funnel for one particular program. But when you think about that, you know, using free MailChimp, free whatever, free blah, and then having, you know, like some automation that was paid for and no virtual assistant helping you for that, compared to paying $1,000 a week to have a coffee shop as a minimum, plus your employees, plus your electricity.
And even if you look at product-based businesses that are online, you know, whatever your business is, if it's product-based, you've got to have the product, right?
You do.
Whether it's sitting in your shed out the back and you're actually, you know, picking and sorting it and taking them all to the post office or whatever, if you're at least cutting, you know, if all you're having to do is invest some money into the stock itself, and you've got to make sure this items sell and that, you know, you balance the levels. Big difference, and there's a lot more competition out there in that space too.
There is. And I think it's a really interesting dynamic with the way that the world is, because we all have the potential to have a global business because of the fact that we're online. Whether or not that's the right thing for you and your industry, another thing entirely. And I've been watching locally here in Perth that, you know, getting emails and hearing stories about a lot of businesses that have been bricks and mortar for some time that are going purely online. And I just heard yesterday, I was, with a fellow business woman yesterday, and she was saying that one of like a local, it's not designer, but it's almost like custom made swimsuit business that's been around in Perth forever is looking to go completely online. And I'm like, it's missing what your ideal clients need. I'm never going to buy, someone like me, never going to buy a swimsuit online and hope that it fits. And if not, then deal with setting it back and exchanging it and getting the right fit. So I don't know that that's really necessarily a good idea. And I do see as well that because we're so, you know, connected online, which we can be, but I think there's a lot of connected people. I think there's really going to be a push for people wanting to do more in-person things and more things where we can actually get to know real people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, be careful. Be really sure about the business model. And before anyone makes any massive decisions about either being, you know, having a bricks and mortar or going online or whatever, or having a bit of the both, be really clear about why you want to do that and don't rush into those decisions lightly.
Yeah. And I guess I was thinking of it from the perspective of feeling for your dad as well. Like it's just, it's so different back then than what it is.
Oh, completely. You know, if you had a business, there was no online stuff, you know, and the marketing was
pages and the newspaper.
Yeah. Definitely. Flyer drop in the local neighbourhood that you did yourself because there wasn't people you could outsource to do that for you.
No.
Ads in the local newspaper, you know, with everybody else. You know.
Happy Jan advertisements.
Yeah.
That in itself is a legacy of an advertisement, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us, talking about legacies, so tell us, for you, obviously you've had this defining moment where you've watched your dad really feel as though your family, and that's put you on a bit of a trajectory to how can you help in business. A lot of women particularly you work with. So what, you know, in 50 years when you're, you know, cruising around Europe,
I hope I'm still here in 50 years.
Yes, absolutely.
We're 100 in a rocking chair. So basically, what do you want people to remember you for? So when I think of Shannon Bush, when I'm 100 in my rocking chair, what do you want me to be thinking about?
Oh, Dad, that's a really good question. And I have given some thought to this. When I was doing my art therapy training, we did a process where we looked at life cycle. And it wasn't just about there's phases from birth to toddler to, primary school to adulthood to, all those different things. We actually looked at the time of death and then legacy. Yeah. So back then and this is pre-business, but I had some chance to think about it. And I've always wanted to leave a positive mark on the world and give people something that they can use to help to better understand themselves, to make, their lives better, to give them confidence, to give themselves permission to be the best version of themselves, which I've created, as you both know. So my personal leadership profiling framework ticks all of those boxes. So my legacy is I want that to be common language amongst women, that they just talk about their personal leadership archetypes and they talk about how they can embrace more of what I'm now calling the thrive factor, because they're in their effortless success zone. So,
you have some goals around that? Like,
completely.
Like to, tell us some goals.
So I self-published a book around the personal leadership profiling back in 2013 now. And the second version of that book is going to be published in the next few months, and it is called The Thrive Factor: Unlock Your Effortless Success Zone. And this is when I first wrote this and wrote up the framework and defined all of the archetypes, it was generally for any woman. This version is for women in business. Yay. So I've, having profiled more than 350 women, and a lot of them being business women over the last few years, I've come to really get clear in the last probably 18 months on insights into 4 key M's that I love to talk about: mindset, marketing, money, and magnetism. So from an archetypal perspective, what do you have to offer and bring to the table from those, and how can you really make the most of the opportunities you have available, understand some of the challenges you may experience, but then know that you've got this also wealth of strengths to move yourself forward in your life and your business. So the new book's coming out, and then on the back end of that later this year, I'll be actually launching a certification program to certify women in business to do the profiling. Yeah, it's been on the cards for a while, but it wasn't right till now. And I think it's because it needed to be the business version, not just the general version.
Yeah.
And really give it that, again, niche it down and give it a real specific, end, focus, I guess, if you like.
And a real point of difference.
Yeah, definitely. So that sort of stuff. And, next year, beyond this, it'll be morphing my business retreats. I've got my first one in November this year, which sold out in 15 hours. Nice. Nice. But, 2 of those a year, and it will be looking more at the, how do you actually access your Thrive Factor and doing that on the retreat.
Where is the retreat, Shannon?
This year it's in Ubud in Bali, and I imagine I probably will stay there because it's an area of the world that I know and love and have retreated to for different things for myself many times over the last 6 or 7 years. So going back on the venues actually at the beautiful guest house I've been travelling to do yoga and art retreats for years. So again, know the family, I know their kids, I've watched their kids grow up and, just welcomed home. So I know that everyone will be taken care of no matter what happens, and that is, to me, it's a big responsibility taking people away. Some of the ladies coming with me have never been away from their children, for example. So, so just sort of, being aware of some of the different emotional things that can come up while they're also focusing on giving themselves time to look into their businesses, have that self-reflection and the reality check about what's going on, and to set some things up to really grow themselves and their businesses moving forward. Yeah. Lots of cool.
We know we could chat to you for a bazillion years.
Yeah.
Many times. So for those of you who are listening that really would love to get in touch with Shannon and just find out a little bit more about whether or not you're a good fit together, is there a way that's the best way to contact you and book in a bit of a discovery session?
Yeah, definitely. No, and thanks for asking, Court. So I think if people generally just want to look and find some information, the best way for them to do that, there's a couple of avenues actually, is to go and check out my website. That's creativepossibility.com.au. Or to come if you're a woman in business, so it's not for the boys. If you're a lady in business, come and join my Facebook group, the Thriving Entrepreneur Circle. We try and keep that very engaged and supportive rather than being all about salesy sort of nonsense, which is important to make sales, but not important to do it that sort of way. So I'd love to, to welcome some of your community into there as well. And, the girls are in there, so come and they'll hang out with them there as well as their own amazing group. But I would love to, if somebody really wants to chat further about their business, I do work with, usually more established business owners or sort of startup, but more sort of this first couple of years in business through with different ranges of programs and both education programs like Market to Thrive and also coaching programs or private clients. And again, it's about making business easier. So if anyone would like to come and chat with me, there will be spaces in my calendar. I make little bits of time available. So the best way to do that is to go, the bit.ly link is bit.ly, so bit.ly/chat430, and it's CHAT, the number 4, number 3, number 0.
Beautiful.
Right.
So bit.ly chat430.
You get the opportunity. We'll send through an email that'll have the link all included and what have you, so that they can definitely book in. And I'm sure that you'll have a couple of other bits and pieces probably special there.
Most definitely.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, my pleasure. I love it. As I said, we're genuine when we say we could talk forever.
Yeah,
we can. We just need to somehow orchestrate in the next few months or year at least. How do we get either me in Adelaide or the two of you in Perth somehow?
Yeah,
we've got to do an in-person thing.
Let's talk about that forever.
Yeah, or you can just and put yourself on your agenda to come to Bali with me next year now.
So I would love to. That has been on my bucket list. That has been on my bucket list, definitely, to get to a business retreat in Bali, and that would.
It's finding the right sort of one too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different sorts of ones, but finding, I just love you, and I think that you've got so much to offer and so much that we could take forward into business and help it to grow and stuff. So it'd be amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. All right. So I'll put you down for May 2019.
Done.
Love it. Excellent. Good stuff. Thanks.
Actually, the second retreat we've talked
nice.
about today.
Good. Well, if you don't start talking about it, putting it out there, it's never going to happen. I can assure you that.
You have to say that it's happening and that you're doing
it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat to the two of you and your gorgeous community again as well.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.